Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to take a first look at the new RadioKing TX18S. And for those of you who are confused by the name of this radio, we are also going to compare it side by side with the Radiomaster TX16S. This is a box of the RadioKing TX18S with the internal 4-in-1 multi-protocol module. The box and its design is looking pretty cool in my opinion. This is actually the best designed box of a transmitter that I have seen so far. But let's get to the content of this box. And here he is, the RadioKing TX18S. The box also contains a neck strap, a foam pad, a USB-C cable and the antenna. But before we take a closer look at this radio, I want to talk about the differences between the RadioKing TX18S and TX18S Lite version. When you are placing your order, you probably will notice that there are two versions to choose from the RadioKing TX18S. The Lite version is apparently the cheaper one, but where are the differences? Checking the specifications is making clear that the Lite version comes with different gimbals, another screen, another roller and another internal module. The gimbals of both versions are Hall sensor gimbals. The only difference seems to be the material of the non-mechanical plates that are surrounding the gimbals. Also the difference of the menu scroll roller only seems to be in the material. The screen of the TX18S is a touchscreen, whereas the screen of the Lite version isn't touchscreen ready. But in fact, even OpenTX doesn't support touchscreens yet. The main difference between both versions are apparently the internal modules. The TX18S comes with a 4-in-1 module that supports more receiver protocols than ever needed. The Lite version only supports some of the most common protocols like FreeSky, Futaba, Radiolink and so on. But to be honest, FreeSky radios are even only supporting their one and only FreeSky protocol. All in all, even the Lite version of the RadioKing TX18S is a great transmitter. Only if you even want to bind Spectrum, FlySky or less common receivers, you will benefit from the more expensive TX18S version. But let's get back to the RadioKing TX18S transmitter. First, I'm going to add the antenna. This is pretty important. I definitely wouldn't recommend to turn on a transmitter without an antenna. The RadioKing comes with a USB-C cable in order to connect the radio with your computer and even for charging the battery. We also get that foam pad that we will need later, and we get a RadioKing neck strap. Now we take a closer look at this radio. The Hall gimbals are feeling pretty nice, even the spring tension is pretty fine and the stick length is adjustable. On the sides we have a rubber grommet gripping area, and at the back of the RadioKing we find the module and battery bay. The screen of the RadioKing is pretty huge and comes also protected by a foil. Well, let's check the switches. Here we have a 2-position switch that I would use for arming and disarming my quad. Here we get three 3-position switches on the left side, two pot switches, 3 more 3-position switches at the right side and a momentary switch. We also get one more port at the left and the right side. Now for switching it on, we first need to add a battery. For this we need to open the battery bay at the back. First, we take a short look into the module bay. For example, here we can add a FreeSky R9M or TBS Crossfire long-range module. And here inside of the battery bay we find a battery case. Now I have inserted two 18650 Li-ion rechargeable 2600 mAh 3.7 volts batteries into the battery case. Next we can plug in the battery into the battery bay. I'm using the foam pad sticker at the backside of the battery bay cover. Now we can switch on the RadioKing TX18S with its large IPS panel. Next, I'm quickly entering the system menu by long pressing the system button in order to page over to the system information. The RadioKing comes with a custom version of OpenTX 2.3.10. Next, I'm entering the model setup menu by long pressing the model button. Here I'm scrolling down to the internal RF in order to check the firmware version of the 4-in-1 module. Now I'm also scrolling through the different protocols so that you can get an impression about how much protocols the internal 4-in-1 module supports. As mentioned before, you can also add an external RF like a TBS Crossfire or R9M long-range module. Furthermore, we can page over to the other model setup pages of OpenTX. I have already created very detailed videos about flashing and setting up these new radios, like the different FreeSky radios or the Radiomaster TX16S. I will link some of those videos for you in the description below. Now we are going to compare the RadioKing TX18S side by side with the Radiomaster TX16S. The RadioKing comes well protected in a plastic package, whereas the Radiomaster comes in a hard case, a plus for the Radiomaster. Side by side, both radios are looking pretty similar. The layout of the switches is pretty identical, only the menu buttons are slightly different. Both radios have Hall sensor gimbals with a pretty identical stick feeling. Both radios have the internal 4-in-1 multi-protocol module, and both radios also have a 4.3-inch touchscreen. At the bottom of the Radiomaster we have the SD card slot and an additional S port and USB port, whereas the SD card slot of the RadioKing is located inside of the battery bay. A plus for the Radiomaster in my opinion. Both radios have an USB port and trainer port on the top side. Both radios have similar gripping areas, and both radios have a full-size module bay and a battery bay. The battery bay of the Radiomaster is slightly bigger. The antenna of the Radiomaster can be rotated in different positions. The antenna of the RadioKing can also be rotated, but it's also removable and even replaceable. A plus for the RadioKing in my opinion, because it's possible to replace a broken antenna easily or even to replace it with an upgrade one. What do you think about the RadioKing TX18S, and which radio do you prefer? The RadioKing or the Radiomaster? Tell me your choice in the comments below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.